Hi there, I'm meteorologist Marielle Ruiz with WFAA in Dallas, Fort Worth. We cover all of North Texas, and I'm joined by Alexa Trischler, meteorologist in Louisiana. Alexa, tell us what station you're with and what area you cover.
Yeah, hey everyone. I'm meteorologist Alexa Trischler. I'm with WWL Louisiana in New Orleans. We cover all of Southeast Louisiana and South Mississippi down here along the Gulf Coast.
And Alexa, we're covering a huge storm. It's going to
Yeah.
it's going to be multi-day. It's
Yeah.
going to be multi-state.
Yes.
One of the more impactful systems that we've seen this winter, I know for us, we've been on the drier side and we've also been on the warmer side. So this is going to be kind of a shock to the system, especially with new people moving into North Texas. And just yesterday we were put under a winter storm watch, likely being upgraded to a winter storm warning. And I know the system will have very different impacts on different states, but for us specifically, I mean, we're looking at several days of freezing temperatures. So by Friday night, we dropped to 32 degrees, and then we stay in freezing temperatures. Our highs will be in the 20s on Saturday and Sunday. We
Ooh.
don't climb to above freezing until Monday. So it ends up being like 65 consecutive hours of just freezing temperatures. And then you factor in, of course, the precip that moves in, and then you get a whole, mess of problems. So we're starting off with some rain, just cold rain on Friday, transitioning to a freezing rain sleet combo Friday night. And then it stays consistent like that throughout the day on Saturday. Saturday night, we could see a transition to snow. And then by Sunday, like midday, we will start to dry out, but then it stays cold. We're seeing temperatures, of course, that are in the teens, single digit wind chills. A few locations like north of DFW could get wind chills or feels like temperatures that are close to zero. So
Whoa.
just a very significant event for us. We'll see, travel issues as well, and we'll get to that. I know you guys are going to be dealing with this system as well. So what are the impacts
Yes.
looking like for you?
It's funny actually. It's been 1 year to the date of our January 2025 Bayou Blizzard, which was a historic snowstorm here that we hadn't seen since the late 1800s. So we're 1 year away, or 1 year from that date officially, and we're talking about winter weather again. Now, the impacts here this weekend across our region, Southeast Louisiana and South Mississippi, in the New Orleans area, the impacts are not going to be as significant as you're seeing farther to the north in Dallas and even northern Louisiana, northern Mississippi. They're going to be seeing more of an ice risk and snow risk across farther to the north of us. Now, here at home, it's actually interesting. It's going to be warm the next few days. We'll be in the 70s Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Couple little rain showers around, and then we start to see things change this weekend here. So Saturday here across my region in New Orleans area, still going to be kind of mild. Temperatures will be in the 60s and falling throughout the day, so we'll likely just have to deal with some rain here across the region on Saturday. But Sunday is the day that there's still that chance we could actually get some freezing rain and some ice north of Lake Pontchartrain. So a lot of the impacts that we're going to see, it's looking like it's going to be focused north of Lake Pontchartrain on the North Shore, we call it, and South Mississippi. We could have some light changeover to freezing rain and maybe some ice on Sunday. And then that's really it. So our risks aren't going to be as high for wintry precipitation, but it's still there that we could get some freezing rain and patchy ice on the North Shore and South Mississippi on Sunday. And like you mentioned, it's the cold air that we're going to be dealing with. Absolutely frigid here on Monday and Tuesday, especially for our standards, because it doesn't really get this cold all too often down here. So our mornings, Monday and Tuesday mornings, temperatures will fall in the 20s, both sides of the lake, maybe even some teens north of Lake Pontchartrain. It will be windy, so it will feel absolutely bitter cold and frigid, and we'll have to worry about protecting our pipes both sides of the lake before Monday morning. So Monday and Tuesday morning, we could have pipe freeze concerns.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we've been talking about too here, the
Yeah,
pipe freeze concerns, because like I said, it's been rather warm here for
yeah.
at least winter standards. And so what we've been telling, exterior walls, if your pipes are on the exterior walls, make sure to open up the cabinets, get some ventilation going. You want to drip the pipes as well. So definitely high caution. And, it's interesting that you mentioned the winter storm from last year because I was
Yeah.
actually in New Orleans about a year ago at the AMS conference, the American
Oh yeah.
Meteorological Society conference. And
Yeah.
so I remember it was around that time that New Orleans got the what did you call it? You
The Bayou Blizzard, we call
the
it down here.
Bayou Blizzard. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
really interesting to see, Louisiana going through a couple of events like that in
Yes.
back to back.
Yeah, I know, right? 1 year ago to the date, we're talking about wintry weather this weekend, but it's not going to be anywhere near that. I know people were hoping for some snow again this year, but looks like we're probably going to miss out, at least for this round, but still nothing to mess with. We'll likely see maybe some patchy ice and freezing rain for parts of our area north of Lake Pontchartrain on Sunday. It's possible. It's still a chance that we might not even have to deal with that. The models are still pretty split. The European really doesn't have any ice threat, but the GFS has some ice threat for us on Sunday. So we'll have to wait and watch and see. And as you know, things can kind of change on a dime that day.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've been watching day-to-day model runs, and surprisingly, it's been consistent. Normally,
Really?
it's not for the
Yeah.
area. They kind of go back and forth, our models do, but they've been pretty consistent on bringing in, unfortunately, some ice comes Friday night through the day Saturday night, and of course, that very cold, frigid air to follow that.
Yeah.
But like I mentioned, this is a multi-day, multi-state. Last
Right.
I counted, there were 12 states with some type of winter storm watch. So any travel plans certainly will be impacted.
Yeah, and like the Northerners always make fun of the Southerners when this happens because the South really doesn't have a ton of infrastructure to support these big winter outbreaks. And it's not like we have a million salt trucks on deck in South Louisiana. So if we do get ice down here, we're pulling resources from states, elsewhere. So the South doesn't really have the standards that the North has set for these winter outbreaks because we really don't see them that much. I mean, it happens, but not, every winter all the time.
Yeah, and one thing I want to point out with that is that most of our power lines are above
Mhm.
ground. Like
Right.
in the
Us
north,
too.
they're buried, but
Right.
here they're above ground. And when you get freezing rain, it sticks
Yeah.
on contact. It weighs down the power lines. It weighs down tree limbs, and that's what causes power outages, unfortunately. And freezing rain is in the forecast. Sleet is a little better because it'll bounce off of
Yeah.
surfaces instead of sticking and weighing stuff down. Um, but definitely something we'll be watching here as far as impacts go this weekend.
Yes. Speaking of that, I know that, you and myself and all the meteorologists across the country refer to this a lot of the time when we're talking about winter weather forecasting. Like you had mentioned, freezing rain is one of the most riskiest, scariest things that you could deal with. Even like a little bit of ice is a problem for travel. You may get some of that, accumulating on power lines. It could lead to power outages. But oftentimes we look at this and see where is the coldest air going to be. So the reason why it's kind of a tricky forecast down across the Gulf Coast closer to where I live in New Orleans is because it's like, when is the freezing line going to get here? Right now, the big global models, the European and the GFS, are kind of split down here, where it shows the European model shows that the freezing line, 32 degrees, the freezing temperatures at the surface aren't going to be getting here until after the precipitation is gone, which would be good. That means we wouldn't have to deal with any ice. But the GFS model has that freezing line coming in and coinciding with the precipitation, which could lead to some ice. So there's still that question, will we get some ice here? But this is a good diagram because it shows the snow all the way to the right. The cold air goes from top all the way to the bottom. You get snow. You just mentioned sleet is not that bad, right? Because you get that refreezing of the precipitation as it falls through a cold layer right above the surface.
Right. And I actually used this description earlier in my own newsroom, and we
Yeah,
used it a couple years ago, but think of like donuts, right? And the glazed donut is the freezing rain, where it's just kind of like an even layer of ice, and a
right.
sprinkled donut where you get those little particles on top, that's sleet. So would you rather see freezing rain? Would you rather see sleet? I think a lot of officials say, sleet is a little easier to see because the freezing rain, freezing on contact, it's difficult to detect. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. The freezing rain is like a sheen of ice. Basically, the rain just it goes all the way through the atmosphere as rain and then hits the surface. The surface is 32 degrees at the freezing mark, and it just freezes on contact with the road, and it's hard to see, freezes on contact with power lines and trees. So that's why we're really concerned about the freezing rain across the southern United States. And we'll have to watch and wait and see if we will be getting that here. But it is possible north of Lake Pontchartrain, we could see that here on Sunday. So we'll have to, wait and watch and see this weekend.
Well, Alexa, it was great talking to you. Thanks so much for that infographic. And
Thank
I know
you.
it's going to be a busy few days, so best
Yeah,
of luck.
you too, for sure. Thank you.
We'll talk soon.
Talk to you later.